Creative is everywhere, but great creative, that's rare. I'm Lauren Schwartz, the founder of the Loft 325, and I'm here to break down all things creative. From hooks to headlines, scroll-stopping visuals, to storytelling that sells. If you care about great ads and killer ideas, you're in the right place. This is Need You Look.
My name is Lauren Schwartz, and I started the Loft 325 almost 5 years ago. So I've been in the e-commerce space for over 12 years. I've been a designer for almost 17 years. And really what kind of took me from designer to having my own agency was really seeing that gap between creative and media buying. So when I first started in the industry working in e-commerce, focused heavily on landing pages, email marketing, social media, and really as everything kind of started to flow together within design, there was really this kind of lack of the brand really talking to the creative or the creative really talking to paid. And so it was just kind of a mishmash of not everything working together. And I really saw this need of where creative needed to stand out was when I joined an agency. So I had worked in the agency space for probably about 6 years or 5 years. And really I had started there as a designer, started working with some paid advertising strategist. And I really just kind of fell in love with the thought of how to gamify paid advertising and really how creative was such a focal point when it came to that. Back in 2016, it was really focused on media buying. So media buying was the thing that you needed to have within your ad account. It was all about the strategies. It was all about how things kind of shifted. But then once COVID hit, it wasn't about omnichannel, it wasn't about brick and mortar, it wasn't about how paid advertising was working. It was really focused on creative. So everyone really needed their creative to be the main focal point. And so that's kind of when I decided I was going to shift from working in an agency and just start my own creative agency. And that's really where the Loft 325 kind of came about. So at that time, really focused on creative strategies for paid social. So how can we get people to stay in the feed? How can we get people to click on our ads? How can we get people to click on what's working and really take them down this funnel? So started building my agency. At first, it was just me all by myself, doing creative, doing strategy, sales, everything, just me all by myself. And then as that kind of started to grow, started hiring some designers and then started working with some content creators. So over the last 5 years, it's really grown into a full-blown creative studio where we have editors, we have strategists, and then we also have a pool of content creators. As I was working with the Loft, I had seen a post on LinkedIn from Josh, who is actually Tier 11's HR, head of HR. And he had posted something about needing some help with some creative strategy. So at the time I had reached out and just said, oh, I could help you with your guys' creative strategy. And as we started talking, it just kind of went into this larger conversation of how Tier 11 needed help with creative, how they really needed help with more strategy. And basically we kind of had this conversation of Tier 11 really needs help with creative. And we to basically merge together with you guys with the Loft 325 to really amplify our creative on Tier 11. And then on the Loft 325 side, we really needed a strategic partner to help with our media buying. So this could be a match made in heaven. Went through it, kind of thought about it for a little while. And I was, you know what, I think this would be a good time for us to merge together. And in August of 2024, we finally merged together. And now we are part of Tier 11 today. So that's kind of the breakdown, the quick, dirty version of where the Loft started and where Tier 11 is today with the Loft. So that's where we're at.
Happy that we're able to bridge the gap now that you're with Tier 11 and they have a great team of media buyers that work really closely with all the creative strategists. You have a lot of experience. Wanted to get a little bit more buckled into the beauty industry specifically. What do you think makes creative such a beast in scaling beauty brands?
So I think just with working with so many beauty brands, so we've worked with obviously not just makeup beauty brands, but skincare, hair care, tools and whatnot. And I think the biggest thing that a lot of beauty brands miss is that it's one, they need a lot of content. I think that's what beauty brands struggle with is that not only do they need a lot of content, but they need a lot of high quality content, but then they also need a lot of content that looks very native to the feed. So I think beauty brands always struggle just with creative because they always need newness. It's not just about keep an ad running for a year or whatever. Yes, that can happen, but with product changes, with trends, always updating, I think the biggest thing is that with creative, you just need a constant influx of creative in order to keep your brand fresh and keep it constantly moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I think also finding a winning ad isn't easy. So
Yeah.
it's the volume of what you need to test in order to find winning creative is huge. And I think as brands start to get into that, they think they can just do it in-house. Oh, we can make ad creative. It's easy. We know a couple influencers, but the sheer volume of creatives you need to test on Meta is insane, especially depends how much you're spending, but it's crazy.
It definitely, especially for beauty brands too.
And being able to read all the data too. I think that's another really special thing about the Loft is in the beginning, it was very, because I was right on the cusp of UGC and creative really making a push through Meta. And in the beginning, it was, hey, so how do we know what works and how do we reiterate on that? So your guys' process of being able to do that is so helpful for a brand. And the fact that you guys also show the brands how that you're looking at, what apps you use, the tech stack and everything. It's so helpful because now we're getting a better idea of what makes a winning creative, but there needs to be a science behind what you're testing. And a lot of times, honestly, I'm sure you see this too in a lot of the brands, they're just, oh, this is a cute video I saw. Let's remake it completely from a competitor and then try it.
I think with working with the Loft and Tier 11 merging together, I think that was one thing that when I first talked to Ralph was that not only did we make really good creative, but we were also we honed in on the actual data behind it. So everyone says creative is so important, but if you don't understand why it's working and you can't actually articulate why it's working, I think you're just another ad agency or another creative agency who makes pretty things. But if you don't know why it's actually working, or you don't know how to iterate on it, or you don't know what the next thing is in order to make a new concept or things like that, I think that's kind of where creative agencies miss, is that they know how to make good things, but if they don't understand the data backed behind it, then really it's not going to help move the needle, especially with businesses and especially with beauty clients. There's always that next thing that you need to do. And if you're not up to date on what's working and you're not understanding how the ads are working or performing, then it's just going to be it's just going to be a lot of the same thing. There's going to be no newness when it comes to it.
I agree. I think that's going to be really big in the beauty industry, especially, but almost all industries. When a brand gets to a certain point, they're always, well, we want our content's really elevated and professional videographers, and we're top tier now because we've scaled. And that's when they start losing all the traction because they've lost that authenticity and they are chasing that beauty, which, we always say this in all of our content, but I feel all of our content's really aesthetic, but we're constantly saying it's not pretty ads, and it's a variety of things.
Yes, agreed.
When you're coming up with an idea for a beauty ad, what is your first go-to strategy with beauty products?
And the first thing we look at is always the before and after. Everyone wants to know what it really does for them. So if it's something that has to do with makeup, how does it make your skin fresher? Or how does it make it glow or whatever? Same thing with skincare. Obviously, if you have acne or if you have skin problems, what's the after state? And so it's really just showcasing that real, authentic content of how it actually helps you and what it actually does for you. There's so many beauty type products out there, but really it's going to be for whatever works for you. So whether that's, skincare product that works for you, if it's a eyelash serum or whatever it is that's going to work for you, we really need to focus on that after state. And then from there, we can start going into more of the science behind it. We can go into more of the educational piece behind it. But really at the end of the day with beauty products is, does it make me look good? And what does it look after? So it's not a crazy in-depth strategy. It's really just, here's what you look before and here's what you look after.
Definitely. I also think you guys do such a good job in the ads of provoking how people are going to feel after using the product, which I think really helps a lot in the beauty industry. And especially as we looked at the breakdown of what Rhode is doing right now and why it's so effective. Because I feel like a lot of people, they just want to follow trends. On a lot of brands, they just want to follow whatever the latest trend is. But we're always constantly thinking, how can we set the trend versus following the trend? So what do you think is the strategy behind Rhode's success right now and how they're shifting the whole beauty industry?
Hailey Bieber she's really good at just having authentic content. And I think just is what kind of works for her. I think it's specifically for Rhode, they used more of that kind of emotional and sensation of food. So food for them was a huge aspect of their marketing. So it was how things translate into the taste, the feeling of what you get. So the smells that you have, the creaminess of whipped cream or things like that. So they really leaned into that emotional connection between food and product. And I think that was such a big thing for them, is that it wasn't necessarily, yes, Hailey Bieber does set a lot of trends in how she does her makeup, but it was really going more for that emotional connection between food and selling the products. I think with that, it really helped elevate them a lot, because not only could they talk about the juiciness of their lip gloss, but they could also talk about how soft their moisturizer, and it's very this whipped cream kind of feeling. And so pairing that together was making people have that food connection, which a lot of people can relate to, and then tying that with the product made it so much better for their product line.
Totally. And that's really hard to do over the screen. How do you make an ad that shows how soft product is? That's tough. So
soft in the product that's hard to do, but I feel everyone always goes for that generalness of when you think of soft or lightweight, it's soft as a cloud or soft as a feather, lightweight as a feather. But let's think outside of that. And I think Rhode is doing such a good job with that, because they're trying to think outside the box, and people always can relate things back to food. You always have those emotional connections with food and smells and tastes. And so if you can tie that all in together with a product, it's just such a home run. I think, again, that's why Rhode was doing so well with this, because it was such an easy connection for people to make. So this is an example of their intensive moisture balm. And this is such a simple and very native, organic looking shot. There is not a lot of complexity to it, but you still kind of get this soft texture from, and it could be whipped cream, it could be butter, whatever it is. It could be something that just kind of evokes this, relating it back to a food product, but they have their moisture product on here. And it's aesthetic in the way that it's so simple, but it also, you can relate to that. You have the whipped cream or whatever on your knife, and then here's this product. So they do a really good job of just tying everything together with all of their campaigns. And this is something that someone could even do on their iPhone, as if you don't have a ton of money to spend for a high production shoot, this is such an easy product shot.
I love this. I love that this also is just such a good example on what we were saying earlier, where brands want to, as soon as they scale, they think all their content needs to be this really high-end, high production, videography, just over the top creative. And this is literally something that could just be shown on your iPhone. This is so simple, but it's a great ad. So I love that Rhode has that as an example, because if you look at their social media, it's pretty well produced. They do lean into UGC for sure, but they do have really high produced, but it's interesting to see that in most of their ad library, it's not that high production photo shoot content. It's literally just content that would look native in feed. Anyone could shoot it and anyone can use it.
Aesthetically pleasing.
What is one trend in beauty that you think we're going to see more of this year?
So one trend I've seen is, especially for summer, I've seen the strawberry face trend. So it's taking, because everyone is all about adding freckles to their face, but now adding freckles to their face with a really nice shade of a tint for their cheeks or some type of blush, but they really make it look like the strawberry trend where you add the freckles on too. So that's something that I've been seeing that has been simple, but it's a good trend for the summer. I think is something that is really going to be highlighted through all these beauty products.
If you could ban one overused creative trend in the beauty industry right now, what would it be and why?
I know I'm probably going to get shut down for saying this, but I actually hate the ASMR tapping of your nails on products. I know it's a big thing.
It works so well though.
I know it works. I know everyone should do it, but I hate watching it. I hate seeing it on my For You page where everyone holds up a thing and they tap it. And now it's just anyone who talks about products. It's, oh, and let's do my face makeup. And it's always just everyone has to tap and I'm just put it on. I just want to see it. But so I'm not that demographic, but I do know it works. But yes. That is what I would
maybe the sounds. You just like the sound of nails tapping.
No, it's funny. I actually have no issue with the ASMR trend. ASMR is fine. It's just I don't want to see it every time I open a new book. Anytime someone does a full face of makeup, you could just do the makeup and not have to tap everything.
I know. Also, when they whisper, when they do ASMR, I don't when they whisper. I don't whispers. I know we were talking about this morning in our group chat, but it's funny to see how your daughter and my niece, I don't know how old your daughter is. How old is she?
She'll be
12 and my niece is 10, and I noticed that whenever my niece gets ready in the morning, she does the whole she'll show the mirror, the product, put her hand behind it, and it's a video. And I'm like, how do you have the energy to do that every morning? It's so crazy. I can't believe I guess it's good. All the younger kids are going to have such good skincare hygiene.
Oh, there's no
Yeah.
awkward phases with kids now because they just know how to do their skincare that I wish I would have done this when I was younger because the amount of sunscreen that she knows to put on, I wish I knew that as a kid. She's going to have the best skin when she's older.
I know that's so true. I know. What is one creative question you wish more founders and CMOs asked before launching an ad campaign?
So I think one question I wish that they would ask is, what is the emotional connection to my brand? So I kind of back to the road topic is everyone has that emotional connection to something. And so it doesn't always have to lead with this high production or these tactics or hacks or whatever. It's just being authentic and real and what exactly is going to bring those people in, whether it's through an emotional feeling with food or just having that nostalgic take. I think leading with that emotional lever is always so critical when it comes to creative because that's what draws people in. The more personal connection you can have to a brand, to a product, I think is what makes it work so much better than all these hacks or hooks or technical aspects of it. So I think if brands were to ask more of those questions, I think it would just help them overall with their creative approach.